I didn't pay for a wedding, I funded a graduation party. Not just any party. This was an event polished to perfection. An orchestrated, lakeside masquerade of pride and illusion, where the sun fell slow over the water and the money disappeared even faster. Arizona's heat draped itself across everything like a second skin, but the venue stayed cool with misting fans and frozen cocktails. Every detail rehearsed, every cost absorbed by me. Not Katie, not her ex-husband, me. It was supposed to be Ryan's big day, his phrase. He said it with a grin while standing in my kitchen, his shoulders wrapped in a new linen suit I'd paid to have tailored the week before. It's my big day, not yours. He told me when I asked if he wanted a family toast. His voice wasn't angry. It was indifferent. Indifference is always more cutting than rage. Rage means you still matter. Indifference means you're already fading. Ryan never once thanked me for the party. He liked to say he handled everything himself. Told his friends that the band was his idea, the location something he'd discovered online, even though I was the one who booked the dates, assigned the contracts, and transferred the deposits. I let him tell the stories. I always let him tell the stories. It's easier to be invisible when you've been rehearsing it for years. Katie didn't correct him. She never does. Her silence is the most consistent language she speaks. That day, she wore an ivory dress and a silver bracelet I'd bought her last Christmas. She looked beautiful. She always looks beautiful when there's an audience. She floated from guest to guest like she was weightless. Hand on someone's elbow, kiss on a cheek, small laugh like glass chiming in wind. She was radiant. No one saw the cracks. I arrived early before the guests. Walked the grounds to make sure everything was in place. The caterers confirmed the menu. The floral team finished the centerpieces. I adjusted the mic stand myself. I even tied the ribbons on the party favors. I did it all not for praise, but because I believed that if I gave enough, gave perfectly, the story would change. That belief had been eating years off my life. When guests arrived, I became a shadow. I wasn't introduced to the out-of-town relatives. I wasn't in the family photos. When they gathered by the lake for a group *T, I offered to take the picture. Ryan handed me the phone without looking up. "Make sure I'm centered," he said. I framed it just right. Golden hour light spilling over their faces. Laughter caught midair. Katie standing with her hand on Ryan's shoulder like a queen blessing her heir. The biological father, Nate, standing beside them, sunglasses tucked into his collar, just drunk enough to believe he belonged. He probably did. The bloodline was clear in the smile, the jaw, the posture. I might have loved the boy, but he had his father's face. And that face never looked in my direction. Nate gave a toast. He stumbled through it, half drunk, half remembered anecdotes. People laughed, applauded. Someone clapped him on the back like he was the returning hero. A guest whispered, "It's great that they're close again." And I almost laughed. Nate had been absent for most of Ryan's life, dropping in and out like seasonal rain. Unpredictable, flashy, gone again. But all it took was one speech and a few photos, and he was the story now. When it came time to cut the cake, I stood off to the side. Katie fed Ryan a forkful, laughing. Nate wiped frosting from his shirt like it was the most natural thing in the world to be there, in the middle, in the pictures. I wasn't handed a plate. I didn't ask. It wasn't a mistake, the seating chart. I checked. They'd drawn it up without me. The head table had 8 chairs. 1 for Ryan. 1 for Katie. 1 for Nate. The rest filled with friends and important people. I was listed under supporting family. Table 5. Near the back, behind the speakers. The music started after sundown. The band played Ryan's favorite covers. I'd hired them 3 months earlier. A surprise. I never told Ryan that. Let him believe they were just available by coincidence. He danced with Katie. He danced with his friends. He never danced with me. I stood on the edge of the crowd, glass in hand, nodding like I was part of it. When the toasts came, I expected nothing. Still, it hurt. Katie's words were soft and lovely, a eulogy in disguise for a man still breathing. She thanked everyone who helped Ryan become the man he is today, then listed the teachers, the mentors, Nate. No mention of the man who taught him how to ride a bike, who fixed his first car, who worked overtime to pay for the SAT tutors, who stayed up nights pacing the hallway when his college rejection letters came in, who held Katie when she cried because she didn't know how to reach her son anymore. I raised my glass anyway, toasted along with the rest, clinked a few flutes, pretended the night was warm and perfect and full of meaning. That's the thing about pretending. If you do it long enough, you almost forget you're doing it. Until something snaps. Around midnight, the fireworks started. Gold and green bursts reflected on the black surface of the lake. People cheered. Someone shouted, "This is better than a wedding!" And I stood in the gravel lot beside the valet station, watching from behind the hedges, the reflection of the finale lighting up the lenses of my glasses. No one noticed I was gone. Not Katie. Not Ryan. Certainly not Nate. I sat on the hood of my car, alone, the noise of celebration muffled behind me. I thought about all the times I'd played this role. The background man, the provider, the one who fills the silence and covers the bills and leaves the spotlight to others. I thought about the card I'd written, the one I slipped into the envelope with a check to cover Ryan's first semester. I'd written, "You've made us proud. Go build something worthy of your name." I'd signed it with my full name, my real name, the one Ryan never wanted to take. He once told me at 13, "I'm keeping Dad's last name. Yours isn't real." I had told him that was okay, that I understood, that I didn't need to share a name to share love. That was a lie. I didn't understand. Not then. And not now. I drove home before the party ended. No one called to ask where I'd gone. The house was dark when I arrived. Katie came in 2 hours later, humming to herself, a take-home gift bag in her hand. She kissed me on the cheek and whispered, "You were amazing today," before slipping into the bathroom to remove her makeup. I sat in the living room, the house still heavy with desert silence, and stared at the blank TV screen. She never asked why I left early. I never told her. That was the first fracture. Not loud, not dramatic, just a hairline crack beneath the surface of everything I'd carried for years. And like all things under pressure, that crack would spread. 2 days after the party, Ryan posted a slideshow online. Dozens of photos, champagne toasts, sparkler tunnels, him and his friends hoisted on shoulders like kings. Katie beside him, smiling like she hadn't cried into my chest the night he got waitlisted at his first choice. Nate front and center, arms draped around Ryan like they'd never skipped a decade. Me? Not one frame, not a silhouette, not a shadow. I had become the ghost. But it was the caption that hollowed me out. To the real ones who were always there, thank you. You know who you are. No tag, no mention, no trace. I stared at that line for an hour. The real ones. I had paid for every last breath of that night. Signed for the venue, tipped the valet, confirmed the gluten-free entree for his friend with celiac. And now I didn't exist. Not even a nod. Not even a lie. I showed it to Katie. She read it in silence, her face a mix of panic and maternal instinct. "I'll talk to him," she whispered. He didn't mean it that way, but he had, and she knew it. What hurt most wasn't the omission, it was the comfort he had in erasing me. Like it cost him nothing. That evening his message came through. No greeting, no lead-in. Just, "I've left home forever. Delete my contact info. I don't need control." Control. That was the word he used. Not help. Not support. Control. Like I'd been twisting his arm with every tuition payment, every phone bill, every late-night Venmo for groceries and gas. Like sacrifice was a leash. I stared at the screen. Read it again. And again. Then I replied. "Then find yourself a job and support yourself. Forget about me." No insults. No guilt. No threat. Just a statement. A line drawn. 10 minutes later, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. First Katie. A frantic string of calls and texts. "What happened? What did you say to him?" "Michael, he's hysterical." Then Ryan himself. Voice breaking, sobbing between words. "Are you serious? You can't do this to me. I didn't mean it like that." I didn't think you'd actually. He never finished the sentence. I let him cry. I let him beg. And I said nothing. The next morning I moved quietly. No arguments. No screaming. Just motion. I sat at the kitchen table, laptop open, financial tabs blinking in front of me like blinking exit signs. I began shutting down the arteries, the steady veins that carried life from me into the version of him I'd been financing for years. His tuition portal closed. Autopay disabled. His apartment rent. I emailed the property manager, revoked the card, removed my name. Car insurance, canceled the policy, stripped my account as the payer. Even his Spotify family plan gone. Petty thing, maybe, but when a man tells you to erase him, you don't keep paying for his music. Katie came down the stairs half awake, coffee already in her hand. She paused when she saw me at the table. She always knew the difference between my tired silence and my final silence. "What are you doing?" she asked, her voice low. "Giving him what he asked for." Her breath caught. She set her coffee down carefully, like it was made of glass. "He's just a kid, Michael. He's emotional. You know how he is. He's 22. That's not a kid. That's a man who asked to be cut loose. I'm honoring his request." She sat across from me, palms flat on the table. "You can't just pull everything. He's not ready." I looked at her, not unkindly, not with rage, just empty, like a well-run dry. I kept him ready. I carried the illusion that he was independent. That was my mistake. Katie tried again. She softened her voice, the way she always did when she was trying to play both sides, the loyal wife and the guilt-struck mother. "He's just figuring things out. It's been a hard year. He's overwhelmed. You can't expect perfect behavior." "I didn't ask for perfect," I said. "I asked for acknowledgement. I asked not to be erased." The screen in front of me confirmed the last cancellation. The bank pinged me with a final alert. Funds blocked. Access revoked. Katie leaned back in her chair, staring at me like she didn't recognize the man across from her. But I hadn't changed. I had just stopped pretending. "He'll come home," she whispered. "I hope he doesn't." That night we didn't speak. We moved through the house like strangers. Her grief hovered in the rooms like smoke, thick, clinging to the walls. But I didn't touch it. I let it stay. The next day Ryan called again. I let it ring. Then the knock came. A slow, hesitant knock. Not the slam of anger, the uncertain tap of someone afraid of the answer. I opened the door. There he was, backpack slung over one shoulder, hoodie half-zipped, eyes red. His mouth opened, but no words came. I stepped aside, waiting, but he didn't move to enter. "I used the same number," he mumbled, as if admitting a crime. "The one I told you to delete." I nodded. "I know." He looked at me then, really looked at me, saw that I wasn't bluffing, that the father he'd dismissed was no longer in costume, that the scaffolding was gone. "I don't have enough for rent," he said. I didn't flinch. I tried to get gas, and the card. I waited. I didn't mean what I said. I studied him, the way his jaw tightened, the way his hands fidgeted at his sides. Not with shame, with inconvenience. He wasn't here for me. He was here for rescue. "Freedom," I said quietly, "costs money." His eyes flashed, just for a moment, with the same arrogance he'd worn that day on the lake. But it faded fast. I nodded once, slowly. Then I closed the door. Not out of vengeance. Not out of hate. Out of respect for myself. I heard him stand there for a long time, maybe waiting for me to open it again. Maybe hoping Katie would intervene. She didn't. She was upstairs, the bedroom door closed, the same way she had been closed every time her son drew blood and I was told to make peace with it. Ryan left without another word. The house was quiet for a long time after that. No music from his old room. No footsteps echoing from the stairs. No sound of Katie's voice rising in soft negotiation. It felt like winter in July. She didn't ask me to change my mind. Not yet. She was waiting too, hoping this would all pass, like a storm that roared loud but left no real damage. But she didn't understand. The damage was old. This was just the moment the structure finally collapsed. I sat in the kitchen the next morning, sipping coffee in silence. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel righteous. I felt the same way a man feels after amputating a rotting limb, in pain, but relieved the infection wouldn't spread. I wasn't a father. I had accepted that. But I also wasn't a fool anymore. It started with the emails. 2 days after I closed the door on Ryan, they began trickling into my inbox. One from the university's billing department, then another from the bursar's office. Notice of outstanding balance. Urgent. Action required. Words dressed in formality, but I read the truth between the lines. They weren't writing to him. They were writing to me. The name on the account. The man behind the money. I ignored the first two, but by the third they escalated. A warning about disenrollment. A deadline, 10 days. Past that, and Ryan would lose access to his classes. The same university I had bent over backward to afford, taking freelance work late into the night, cutting corners on meals so he could eat well. The same school he bragged about as if getting in had been his triumph alone. Katie read the third email over my shoulder. She didn't say anything at first, just stood there, her breath catching slightly when she saw the words, subject to suspension. I felt her hand on the back of my chair, light, almost careful, like she was testing how much weight I could bear. I didn't know they'd drop him that fast, she said finally. They didn't, I replied. They're giving him a chance to find another way. He won't. Katie's voice cracked. He's not ready for this. You know he's not. That's not my fault. That afternoon, I removed the university's email filters from my inbox. I wanted to see everything. I wanted to feel every reminder of the life I was no longer funding. And it kept coming. Next, the apartment. A notification from the property management company. Tenant's account delinquent. Guarantor will be held responsible unless balance is paid in full. That word, guarantor, sounded so noble when I signed the papers. Like I was offering protection. Now it just sounded like blame in a suit and tie. Then the insurance provider called. Ryan's auto policy had been terminated for non-payment. His car was uninsured. A threat on wheels. I could have reinstated it in 30 seconds. I could have logged in, clicked a button, and fixed it all. I didn't. Instead, I opened the garage and looked at the rusting ladder, the toolbox I hadn't touched in months. I remembered the night Ryan had called, stranded on a highway shoulder at midnight, and I drove 2 hours just to replace his tire, the same tire he said Nate would have known how to fix faster. I thought about the thankless miles, the backhanded praise, the phone calls that started with "I need" and ended with "later." Katie brought it up that night, softly, carefully, like someone approaching a wounded animal. He's applying for jobs. He's been calling offices all day. He's 22, I said. He should have been doing that months ago. He didn't need to before. You were. I was enabling him. She flinched. Truth has a weight to it. A week later, Ryan came back. Not with anger. Not with insults. He showed up like a boy caught in a flood. Clothes wrinkled, voice hoarse, backpack half-zipped and clinging to him like a life raft. He didn't try the door this time. He sat on the front step for over an hour. I watched from the hallway window. I saw the way he hunched his shoulders, checked his phone every few minutes like reinforcements might arrive. They wouldn't. His friends were the kind that vanished when the drinks stopped flowing and the car wasn't gassed. Eventually, I opened the door. He didn't look up. I'm behind on everything, he said. They're going to evict me. I didn't reply. They're serious, he continued. School too. If the balance isn't paid by next Friday, I'm out. That's not just housing. That's everything. Classes, credits, the whole year gone. Still, I said nothing. I'm applying for jobs, he added. But no one wants to hire someone for 2 weeks of work. I'm trying. There was a tremble in his voice. Not quite sorrow, not quite rage. Something in between. The sound of a man slowly realizing the world doesn't care if he's ready for it. Then keep trying, I said. That caught him off guard. He looked up, brows furrowed. like I'd spoken in a foreign tongue. "You're really not going to help?" "I already did," I said. "For years." He blinked hard. "But you always said you'd be there." "And I said, "until you erased me." Katie came to the door then, barefoot, robe cinched tight. She'd been listening. I could tell. Her face was pale. Her hands twisted in the fabric like she didn't know which one of us to reach for. "Michael," she said. Just my name. No accusation. No plea. Just the sound of someone realizing neutrality is its own betrayal. I turned to Ryan. "You called me controlling," I said. "Told me to delete your number. That you didn't need me. Those were your words. All I did was agree." Ryan opened his mouth. Closed it again. He wasn't used to silence. He was used to negotiations, to soft landings, to Katie stepping in when the floor gave way. But I wasn't giving him the floor anymore. "Please," he said. Just one word. Frantic. But it came too late. I closed the door again. This time I locked it. Katie didn't follow me. She stood on the other side for a while, arms wrapped around herself. I could hear her breathing through the wood. But she didn't come in. The next day she tried to talk. "Maybe just for one more month," she whispered. "Just enough to stabilize him." No. What if he really drops out? What if he loses everything? Then maybe he'll learn what it costs to have it in the first place. She cried that night. Not loudly. Just a slow unraveling. The sound of someone trying to mourn a version of her son that never existed, the grateful one. The respectful one. The one she thought would eventually say thank you. I didn't console her. Because I was mourning too. Not him. Not the money. I was mourning the story I told myself for too long. That love alone could earn you respect. That time spent could become blood. That sacrifice could rewrite DNA. It doesn't. Respect has to be chosen. Ryan never chose me. Now he was choosing consequences. And I was choosing peace. The silence grew roots. Days passed. Then a week. The phone didn't ring. No knocks. No texts. Not even from Katie. She moved through the house like a ghost wearing her own skin. Speaking less and less. Lingering in hallways like she wanted to ask a question she was afraid of knowing the answer to. I slept deeper than I had in years. Not peacefully, but without the weight. Without the daily ache of waiting for someone to see me. Without the quiet humiliations. The glances exchanged over dinner. The invisible seat at the table. The backhanded gratitude spoken through gritted teenage teeth. Without the gnawing, clawing desperation to belong to a family that only wanted what I gave, never who I was. 3 days after I shut the door for the second time, Katie stood at the kitchen sink, rinsing the same plate for 5 straight minutes. I watched her from the doorway, her shoulders twitching in small, repeating circles, her lips pressed so tight they turned white. She spoke without turning around. "He's staying with Nate." I didn't respond. He said it's temporary, just until he figures things out. Still, I said nothing. Finally, she faced me. And when she did, I saw the fracture. The same one I'd carried for years, now etched across her. "He doesn't want to ask you again," she said. "He thinks it wouldn't make a difference." I nodded. "He's right." Her eyes welled, but she didn't cry. Not that day. That day was for realization, not sorrow. "Nate doesn't have the money," she admitted. "He's making promises he can't keep. Ryan thinks he can solve it himself. He's scrambling." I took my coffee and stepped out onto the porch. Arizona mornings are merciless. The heat doesn't wait for the sun. It seeps through walls, through skin, through the silence between husband and wife. I sat on the porch swing and listened to nothing. Katie didn't follow me. She used to. 2 days later, Ryan called. I was in the garage sorting tools I hadn't used in over a year. The call came from a number I didn't recognize. I answered anyway. His voice was thin, not cracked, not performative, just stripped. I was wrong. 3 words, carried on static. No script, no manipulation, but also no change. I let him speak. "I thought I didn't need you," he said. "That I could just walk into the world and have it work." I didn't reply. I thought I earned everything myself. The school, the apartment, even that party. I really believed it was mine, that I built it. A pause. I didn't realize how much was you. Not until it all broke. Another pause. I'm not asking for money. That part mattered. That was the first honest sentence I'd ever heard from him. I'm just sorry, he said. That's it. And then he hung up. I stared at the dead phone line, waited for a feeling, redemption, relief, maybe even rage. None came. Apology doesn't heal when the wound was never acknowledged until it bled out. Gratitude, born only in collapse, is just fear in disguise. I didn't want fear. I had lived in it for too long. The next evening, Katie set a folder on the kitchen table. Bank records, tuition receipts, rent invoices, my signature on all of them. She didn't speak. She just stood behind the chair as I flipped through the pages. I should have stopped him, she said. Years ago. I didn't nod. I didn't need to. I thought if I smoothed it over, things would settle. That if I asked you to be the bigger person one more time, maybe it would fix itself. She sank into the chair across from me. I let him treat you like a stranger, and then I expected you to keep loving him like a son. Her hands shook. Not dramatically, just enough. I betrayed you, she said. I closed the folder. You protected your son, I said. That's what mothers do. No, she said. I protected his illusion. Not him. Not you. Just the fantasy that everything would eventually be okay. We sat in silence. There were no more tears. No dramatic walkouts. Just the hum of a refrigerator. The tick of a wall clock. The slow decay of denial. That night, she slept in the guest room. Not because I asked her to. Because she didn't know how to lie beside a man she had asked to remain invisible. A month passed. Ryan didn't come back. Katie didn't ask me to reach out. The house found a new rhythm. Not peaceful, not warm, but real. And that was enough. I could live with real. I started walking in the mornings. Just me, the dust, the brittle wind, the rising sun. No podcasts, no headphones, just air and motion. Sometimes I thought about the boy I raised. The one who cried in my arms after his first heartbreak. The one who scraped his knee and ran to me, not Nate. The one who called me Dad once, just once, when he was 13, after I stayed up all night helping him finish a science project. I had saved that moment, locked it away like a rare coin. But memories are not proof. They're only stories. And stories are worthless if the people who live them don't believe they ever happened. 6 weeks after the fallout, I received a letter. Handwritten. Ryan's penmanship, jagged, messy, trying too hard to be mature. Inside, no demands, no asks, no manipulation, just 6 sentences. I found work. It's not much. I'm staying on someone's couch. Nate couldn't help. I've applied for financial aid. I understand now what you carried. I don't expect forgiveness. But I needed to say this while I still meant it. No return address. I folded the letter and placed it in the drawer beside my bed. Not because it changed anything, but because it mattered that it came without strings. Katie and I talk less now. Not in anger, just distance. Respectful. Hollow. Sometimes we eat dinner in silence. Sometimes we sit on opposite ends of the same couch. We exist like the edges of a photograph, part of the same frame, but looking in different directions. She never brings up the money, or Ryan, or what I did, and neither do I, because what I did wasn't revenge. It was recognition. Recognition that I was never chosen, only used. That in their eyes I was never father, only function, only finance, only filler. And now I am free. There is no freedom more sacred than walking away from a place where love must be begged for. So here's the question. Not for them. For you. Was I wrong? Was I wrong to stop paying for a man who spit in my face and called it independence? Was I wrong to draw a line and say, enough, even if it left my wife in tears and my home in silence? Was I cruel? Or was I just finally honest? You tell me, because I've carried every version of this family. And now, finally, I'm putting it down.